coming to the broad categories in which the waste is being classified, or in which the things which go outside our houses commonly fall into. Wet waste, dry waste, electronic waste, sanitary waste, and hazardous waste. But majority of places currently have only two categorization, wet waste and dry waste. But we'll cover all of them so that you have a basic understanding, or we know the basic key differences, how this kind of segregation really helps, where is the value in that. So wet waste, as we all know, it's the waste related to food items, the plant items, the garden waste which is there. But at the same time, wet waste doesn't literally mean the thing has to be wet. So things like your copra shells which are there, the coconut shells, these also come under this particular category. The other way of looking at it is those things which go back to the nature when they are kept separate without mixing it with other things. So they decompose and quickly become soil or go back to land in a small period of time, around 3 months to 6 months period of time, and sometimes even sooner than that. So normally what happens to the wet waste from the residential buildings? So either it is being collected by the housekeeping staff, or there may be a big bin outside our housing premises, or maybe a little closer to a housing premises where we go and put it. Or there may be a composting unit there which is there near your vicinity where these things go. So these items most of the times get created into compost, which is the nutrient of the soil, which is the manure, natural manure, which is added for growing the plants. At some places, it is also being used to generate gas. Biomethane or bio-CNG is what they call it. So how does segregation of wet waste help us? So it helps to generate resource out of something which is going out of our house as waste. And in case you are somebody who is into growing plants, or you have a community garden, so there this thing which is converted into compost can be used instead of buying the fertilizers from the market. So on one side, the waste gets converted into a resource, and at the same time, we avoid the chemical exposure of the fertilizers on our food chain. Earlier, if we didn't segregate it, so what happens is it keeps lying like this. This is a much cleaner version. It will be like standing like this for a long period of time. And also what happens is from the plastic items, things like microplastics, from the batteries, things like the acids, minerals, and all that, it get mixed in the soil and make it unsafe, make it toxic. Now, when it is segregated, it helps improve the quality of the soil, and ultimately it improves the quality of the food which we eat. So remember that the sorting thing is not just about a law or a rule. It affects the entire health of us. It entires the food what we eat, which keeps us healthy. Now coming to dry waste. So which of these items will fall in the category of dry waste? Any of you want to unmute and tell? I'll wait for a few seconds.
The bottle is dry waste.
Correct. Thank you, Dana. So again, one confusion which is there is that dry waste means everything which is dry. So you might be knowing it, but maybe this thing you can communicate to others, because a lot of people get confused when their nomenclatures like dry or wet waste. So here the dry leaves, your dry fruit shells, the dry food grains, spices and all, these are a part of your wet waste. Only item here which is the dry waste is this bottle which is there. So dry waste basically are the non-food items, they are the man-made items, and they don't go back to nature in a short period of time. Okay, so they are, most of the time, these are the recyclable items. So how does the segregation help here? Because this dry waste which is there, these items, the plastics, the metals, the paper and paper products which are there is a good value in them, which when we segregate them can be extracted, they can be converted into either similar items or new items. you'd be surprised to know that when all these metal cans, your aluminum cans which are there, they can be recycled indefinitely. Okay, so that means you can recycle it every time and you can create similar kind of products. But at the same time, plastic and paper can be recycled only a few times. And one very important thing why the sorting helps here as well is because if any of these items has any food particles in them, has food remaining in them, then those can't be recycled. That take away the value of these items. Now coming to the next category, e-waste, although it falls under the dry waste category, some places have a separate collection of e-waste, some places don't have it. Mobile is a very good example in terms of the e-waste, in terms of how you can actually put the things and exchange it in a very good way, because we have all this exchange of old phones where you give the old phone and you get the new phone, and the people who take it can extract things out of it and put them in a better use. So as we all know, electronic items, the more complicated it is, the more number of items and the more number of components it has. It has plastic, it has metals, it has minerals. So we may think it is not of use to us, but when it goes to these places, e-waste recyclers especially, they can create value out of that. They can extract those things and save on the cost and save on the environment at the same time. These small batteries are something which is at some places they accept it as a part of e-waste, at some places they treat it as a part of hazardous waste. One practice which can be followed for this is when you're disposing of these batteries, put them in a transparent plastic bag so that whoever is handling this waste, whoever is further sorting the waste after it goes out of our houses, knows that it is battery, because we know there are sometimes acid release and discharges from these batteries which are harmful. Now, how does the waste segregation in case of e-waste help? In fact, not just e-waste, even for the dry waste, it saves us on the mining extraction part of the entire value chain which is there. Today, there's a lot of talk about sustainable products and all, but one reason behind that is the raw material impact of everything which is involved there, right? So here when we are sending our e-waste for recycling, so this raw material part, a majority of that part gets addressed, gets attended. Because mining extraction take a lot of human efforts, has a lot of impact on the surrounding environments and also on the people who are doing this activity. At the same time, these resources are limited. So whatever is existing with us, if we reuse that, we are maintaining the balance in the system as well. Another aspect is when any of these batteries, etc., mix with the wet waste, so these kind of accidents can happen because these items are inflammable, they are reactive in nature. So to avoid the harm as well as benefit from the value in these, the sorting of it correctly helps here. And one more example I just wanted to quote here is in terms of the refurbishing of these electronic items, phone being a common example of that. So when these go to these particular people who know how to extract value, who know how to repair, these items can come back and get a new home by small repairing and all. And at the same time, refurbished item doesn't mean that it will not have a warranty. They do have warranty, but maybe of limited period as compared to a new product. Coming to sanitary waste, so again, because of the infectious property of these, and also because of the reason, the entire sorting post, even if it's taken from our house, is done manually. AI and robotics have come, but that is done at very select places. And in India, to reach at that level, it's going to take a lot of time. So basically, there are people who are helping us categorize it, but they have to do it manually. So what can be done, even if you don't have a separate sanitary waste collection in your location, please make sure you tag these items and mark them clearly, either with a cross or a red sign there, so that the person who is taking them at least knows that this is something different from the other things they are collecting. Band-aids and needles, very small items these are. if there is a medical center near to you, it's better if they allow and you will go and dispose these items there. Same thing for the hazardous waste. Some places have started having a separate facility for hazardous waste. Others, if they are not having it, for the expired medicines, for the broken bulbs and tubes which are there, for the batteries which are there, so please mark them clearly, because this hazardous item are reactive in nature, they are toxic in nature, so that the person who is handling is aware that this is not the regular dry waste, and so that they are careful when handling these kind of materials. So to summarize here, so let me give you, I don't want to give any numbers, but broad this thing that the things which go out of Indian households, around 50 to 60% of that falls under the wet waste category. Once we take care of that part, the rest of all falls in place. So if your wet waste, if your food waste is entirely kept separate from the dry waste, one, it saves the dry waste from all the moisture and the stink and the infestation, etc., which can otherwise happen. And second, it helps us take the value out of, recover the value out of those